I must get you to safety, General.
Retreat you must. On the moon below is my mission. There, I must go.
It was Yoda's first episode in the Clone Wars that we did. There were elements that we really wanted to explore, and that was, things that were classic to Yoda. As a teacher, and we thought this was a great opportunity to show how the Jedi interact with the clones.
Your helmets, remove them. Your faces I wish to see.
Specifically, Yoda in a teaching role of the clones, who were socially new, who kind of grew up, who were created to fight, and he really broadened their horizons and helped them realize that there was a great big universe out there that was bigger than just fighting and killing.
Grease, always focused on the enemy, are you? For inspiration, look to yourself and those beside you.
You see Yoda teaching the clones much like he taught Luke, because that was kind of natural for them, a natural instinct to take these clones like their students. And it really allowed Yoda to have a scene that was reminiscent of a scene that we both liked growing up with him when he was teaching Luke.
You are reckless.
We also wanted to show some of the fun side of Yoda. In the prequel films, he came off so serious as the senior member of the Jedi Council. So having him interact with the droids and being a little more that kind of impish, gremlin-like creature was a lot of fun as well.
Smaller in number, are we? But larger in mind.
Do you have any idea what the General is talking about?
Hey! Get off of me! Don't move.
One of the things that's interesting on the series is that characters that you don't realize have been pushed to the extent that they have been come up all the time, and Yoda is one of them. If you put the Clone Wars version of Yoda right beside the digital Yoda from the prequels, they are very, very different. The Clone Wars version of Yoda has a huge head. His hands are much bigger, his feet are much bigger, his eyes are much bigger. Everything has been sort of pushed and stylized, and Yoda was really helpful because you could see what happened to Yoda as he made the transition to the 3D version for Clone Wars, so we could use that to sort of base how we were going to push or stylize other characters that were either rubber masks at some point or completely digital.
What, you think you're some kind of Jedi waving your hand around like that? I'm a Toydarian!
An interesting thing about Watto in The Phantom Menace is, he is a Toydarian, but he's on Tatooine. What are the other Toydarians like who are actually on Toydaria?
Ambush was the first time that we saw Toydarians besides Watto. Generally, because there are so many different characters in the movies, you see one of each type for the most part, so the trap that you might fall into is decide that every single person from that species looks exactly like that species. We decided to groom our Toydarians and make them a little more put together, so Kantunko sort of braids his stubble into two plaited sort of beard-looking things, which keeps them sort of cleaner. It was also technically easier if Dave Filoni decided that the king should have much longer snout than the average Toydarian did because he's the king. He was also slightly rounder. The idea was that Toydarians sort of prided themselves on how big their bellies could be, and the rounder you were, the more in shape you are if you're a Toydarian.
I always looked at Katunko as the king of the Voltron from Flash Gordon. That's who this guy was. So I gave him a little Wagnerian-style helmet that came down with little wings. He was just a really fun character to develop. Watto influenced it a little bit, but in a way, Watto was only giving us one look at a Toydarian, a guy who was kind of, for whatever reason, out there, far from the bright center of the universe.
I have a great faith in the boy. Is a credit to your race.
Beautiful this moon is, Amazing, the universe. Yes.
When we were developing the look for Ragosa, it was important when we attacked the planets. I always wanted to have a different look for every planet. There was always kind of a Flash Gordon idea going on in Star Wars that this is an ice planet, this is a jungle planet, this is a forest moon. You create a short list of what hasn't been done by George already, because he'll tell you he's done them all, or at least the easy ones, he tells me. I did some concept paintings of the coral planet. I don't know, I just had the idea that maybe this was kind of a coral moon. that at one time there were vast oceans on it and it had long ago dried out. There are even some fossils on there, I think, if you look closely in the background. And Russell Chong did a great job at, kind of creating all these different corals. And I especially wanted shots where there'd be little rays of light coming down through the coral bed and give a doppled look to the ground. And, a lot of it also, besides just wanting a different environment, was how is the environment going to affect the episode? So it's just a coral moon, and it was a new way to look at a planet on Star Wars.
Look, a little green life form. You buckethead, that's the Jedi!
Because the battle droids don't have mouths, we get to add whatever we want into like inject humor whenever we can, or some kind of plot forwarding device. And one of the ones was there's this one droid is like up in his tank, and he sees Yoda run underneath the tank, and we put that part when he's coming down. We added like, "But I just got promoted," and we added that like at the last minute.
But I just got promoted!
That was one of those ones we didn't really tell him ahead of time, and we got a big laugh.
Doesn't look like the general needs help to me.
And the bird that lands on his shoulder is my cat. I don't know if you've seen cats when they get really anxious and they start chirping at things. They have this weird little chirpy thing, that the nervous chirp.
Learned something today, have you, Lieutenant?
I think we all did, General.
So that's my cat chirping, is the bird.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Which will get residuals, right?
Yes, my cat's SAG actor, yes.